Right? Right? So, like you,
Sister,
go ahead.
and what has been
Pastor Anil, were you saying something? Okay. So, what was our passage? Our passage is First Corinthians chapter 4, right? Okay, no, it is maybe repeated something that it is simply I've just put, and there's no point in having all those things. All right. This is the passage. I'm going to read it again. So I have, yes. Let man regard us this in this manner as servants of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God. In this case, moreover, it is required of stewards that one be found trustworthy. But to me, it is very small thing that I should be examined by you or by any human court. In fact, I do not even examine myself, for I am conscious of nothing against myself. Yet I am not by this acquitted, but one who examines me is the Lord. Therefore, do not go on passing judgment before the time, but wait until the Lord comes, who will bring both light things hidden in darkness and disclose motives of men's heart. And then each man's praise will come to him from God. So this is the passage. You know, when you read several times a passage, not one time, several times, you get more clarity. Then you read connecting, right? So yes, as Prakash said, yes, I I read Esther last night. I worked on this passage like you because I wanted to work this like you just yesterday, right? So it took some time to work. So what I did, I read this passage. I read the maybe I can mute here. I read its background. So what did I find? I found Paul has been talking about the nature of Christian leadership, right? Nature of Christian leadership. In chapter 4, sorry. Okay, that should be a mistake. It's not 4, it should be 3. Wait. I'm sorry. That was a mistake. Okay. In chapter 3, he provided a series of metaphors for the church and its leaders, right? What are the metaphors? So he talks about church and its leaders. And especially he talks about the church. He says, church is God's cultivated field, remember? It's God's building, God's temple.
right?
Okay, so it says it belongs to God. Church belongs to God because already there is a problem of division in the church. That is what chapter 3 begins, right? Chapter 3 begins with the division. And God is, Paul gives the answer, it belongs to God. Since everything, that is church and its leaders, belongs to God, one has to be careful how he should appraise Christian leaders or gospel ministers. I have used different words because this message is not a conclusion at all, just the introduction, right? So when you judge Christian leaders, you need to be careful because gospel ministers belongs to the Lord. Paul here moves from the metaphors to application in chapter 4 by using the phrase, let a man regard us in this manner. So when he says the word in verse 1, where? See here, let a man regard us in this manner. So it's beginning something new, right? He's already said something and he begins a new chapter here. So this phrase begins the application of chapter 3. Chapter 3 is what? Metaphors and a thing. Chapter 4 begins the application. So I see this is as one coherent, distinct unit, right? I say it's a one, but it's not separate. When I say it's not separate, and so Prakash Sharma, you're right, it is a continuation, but still I see it as a distinct because he wants to talk about the application. All right, so that's how I look at it. Now you can look at what are the things repeated, right? Maybe, I did not find much time, maybe it's my few time, but what are the repeated statements or thoughts? Actually, I see the word stewards. It's not really statement, it's a word in verse 1 and 2. Why we look for repeated statements? So that when you look at the repeated statement, it will give you an idea. Yes, this passage is talking about this kind of things, right? When you look at the repeated statement, it gives you information that, okay, the main thrust of the passages are around this repeated word. So for me, verse 1 and 2, if you look at verse 1, I see stewards. Verse 2, I see stewards. And I see word examine, because that is very important. In verse 3, verse 4, I see examine. Right. So you see that one. And repeated thoughts. Maybe Paul is trying to compare servants and stewards as the same thing. I do not examine. I am conscious of nothing against myself. Those are same thought. And examine and judge. Examine oneself or judging is the same thought. And judgment and bring to light is the same thought. Or bring to light or disclose also is the same thought. So I'm looking at those repeated statements and thoughts, repeated, coming there, right? So that I need to have a proper understanding of what this passage is really talking about. And is there a direct statement? And that may be a little problem, right? What is direct statement? Something is asking, talking us to do something really, talking us to do. Remember, direct and indirect statement. So you may need to know a little bit of that, because a direct statement usually in the Bible asks you to do something which can be a main point if you really look at it. So let a man regard us in this manner. This is the way. So when he use the word let a man, that means this is the way you have to look at us. That's one. So it's clearly he's asking them to do it. Number two, don't go passing on judgment. All right, don't go passing on judgment. So I thought I saw two direct statements, not indirect. There are many indirect statements, but two direct. Then appeals, I took both of them are commands. Let a man regard, do not go, both of them are command. That's the way I took. Now, analyzing an organization, the information. This is what I found. Gospel ministers are servants of Christ and the gospel. Yes? Remember, that's verse 1, right? Their ministry must be extension of their faithfulness. It should be there, okay? Your ministry, that's what Paul says. Their ministry must be extension of their faithfulness. That's the second idea I got from that verse. Third idea. Only God has the right to appraise the integrity of a person's faithfulness, and he will do that when he comes back. Third. Fourth, believers are not to judge others' motives for ministry. All right? Believers are not to judge what? Motives. Right. So here is my my statement. All right. Here's my statement. I am looking at in terms of judging someone. So if you look at my statement, this is what. We are not supposed to judge the motives of others who serve the Lord, because they belong to Him and He alone knows the motives of the heart. Okay? That is my statement. Now, why did I say that we are judging is the biggest problem? Why? Right? So if you look at my the main idea, as I said. And so I put these main ideas into one statement already. Believers are not to judge. This is kind of kind of theme that I get from the text, not a preaching theme, but a textual theme. Corinthian believers are not to judge the motives of those who serve the Lord, because they belong to Christ and He alone knows the motives of the heart. I know, and I put all these 4 points in a nutshell in this statement, just one statement. All right. So I know that what was Prakash Sharma? What was your topic? General topic? What was yours? Servant something?
Servant of Christ.
Servant
Servants
of-
of Christ.
Servant
Okay.
of gospel.
Yeah, servant of gospel. Yeah. So gospel, I put gospel ministers, but I added something, marking or judging. Right? That is, I added something more. Okay. I don't know whether Joseph is there. Joseph, are you there? Or you? I think he's gone. Maybe. Okay. So that is what I see, marking or judging gospel ministers. Now look at, see, here is the problem for many people, right? When they make a sermon. The sermon is that they're not, you have a text, you need to put the text as answering some basic questions. If you're not able to ask questions and bring the text as answer to the question, we don't preach in a coherent way, logical way, right? So here is my question. What is my question? So here, what is the underlying question about the general topic that this passage is answering? What is the underlying question? All right. Prakash, what was your question? Underlying question?
I just wrote, so this passage is answering the question of division that started in chapter 3.
Okay. That means this passage should be, okay, how you can solve the division. But that
Right.
passage is not talking about how you can solve the division. Rather, he is taught, maybe if you take the entire passage, it might be something like that, like entire chapter 4. But chapter 4, verse 1 to 5 is particularly, he's saying why it is wrong that believers judge the motives of those who do ministry. People can judge what is happening, but judging the motives is wrong, right? Because that passage clearly says about motives, right? You see, they do not go on passing judgment before the time, but wait until the Lord comes, who will bring both to light the things hidden in the darkness and disclose what? Motives of men's heart. So judging the motives, yes.
Sorry, I heard you mention my name. Sorry, I was getting ready to leave.
Oh, no problem. I was asking what was your question, like underlying question. What was the? I want to know what was your general topic and underlying questions. That was just the result.
For me, the general topic, what I mentioned was servants and stewards of Christ.
Okay.
God will be judged and rewarded by God.
Yeah. So you are
Who is the
servants, and
final judge of all.
I think all of us got that idea. But
And
like
the question was, who is the ultimate judge of those who serve Him?
Okay, that was there. Okay, that was. So you're saying, okay, God is the ultimate judge, right? Maybe now I have come up with a different thing. Okay, yes, I think all of us got gospel ministers, servants of Christ, or whatever the word. But I added a qualifying marking or judging. Judging gospel ministers, that is the topic. Okay, topic that I said, judging gospel ministers. And my question was this: why we should not judge the motives of the gospel ministers. Rather than what was the Joseph, your question again?
My question was, just a moment. Pastor.
Who is, right?
I mentioned the question as, who is the ultimate judge
Judge.
of those who serve him?
Serve God, yeah. My way of looking at that passage, so that means the way that how we look at sometimes different, but my reasoning I will explain why I say. See, why we should not, my question is this, why we should not judge the motives of the gospel minister. I am asking not who, but why. Because I think that passage, Paul gives us the reason why we should not. All right. So look at my answer to the question. I have come up with two answers. All right. Two answers. Why we should not judge? Because they are servants of Christ and servants of the gospel, because they are servants of Christ. And second, only God has the right to judge. So I am asking the question, why? Now, why did I ask that question? Because I wanted to put the entire passage into this as an answer to this question, right? So look at with me how my first answer is what? Because they are servants of Christ and the gospel, why we should not judge the motives? Because they are the servants of Christ and the gospel. Now let's look at that passage. We may see that one. He begins, let a man regard us in this manner as servants of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God. Right? That's a verse. Now, why he said that one? That's my question. Why he said that you should regard us as servants of Christ? Because if you look at the context, Corinthian believers were judging apostles according to worldly criteria, how they judge other people, right? You cannot judge those who serve the Lord like what others do. And so that's the reason he said, you have to, this is very command, let a man regard us in this manner as servants of Christ, servants who belongs to Christ, and stewards of the mysteries of God. Of course, who is the mystery? What is the mystery? Of course, chapter 1, 2, you read the gospel, right? It's kind of, he says, it was hidden to people of this world. People of this world, it is hidden. It is a mystery. Gospel is a mystery that the wise people can never know this. This is a mystery. Gospel is a mystery. So stewards of the mystery. So I say servants of Christ and the gospel. Because why we should not judge. So I have, if you look at here, my main point would be because they are servants of Christ and the gospel. As servants, they belong to Christ, and I should say they belong to the gospel also. I did not add. I can say. And third, second, in the subpoint, as servants, they are required to be faithful in their ministry. Yes, they are required. It's a requirement for every. So, why you should not judge, because it is required from every gospel ministry that they should be faithful. If it is gospel ministry, faithfulness cannot be altered. All right. So my answer first, they are servants of Christ and the gospel. All right. So therefore, you are not to judge their motives. Second reason, I said, because only the Lord has the right to judge his servants. Why? I have given three reasons there. All right? Because human judgment is dangerous because it can be wrong. Why? He says, look at that one. No, not there. Yeah, here. This is verse 2, in this case, moreover, it is required of steward that they should be found trustworthy. But to me, it is very small thing that I should be examined by you or by any human court. This is human judgment, right? That is human judgment. Like, could the believers judge him or any court? That's a human judgment. Then he says, I do not, okay, in fact, I do not even examine myself. That is self-judgment, right? I see a self-judgment. Even self-judgment can be wrong. Why? He says, I am conscious of nothing against myself, yet I am not by this acquitted. So he said, yeah, I do not even judge myself. Because I don't judge myself, it doesn't mean that I should be fine, I should be all right, I'm great. No. He says, no, not, I can be wrong. So he talks about self-judgment. Then he talks about, but the one who examines is the Lord, that is Christ's judgment. So Paul talks about three judgments, right? So look at that. So look at my point. In my point, I brought that idea. Okay, only the Lord has the right to judge his servants. And then I brought those three ideas. Human judgment is dangerous because it can be wrong, right? Because people don't know what is going on in the heart of a servant. Second, self-judgment is insignificant because it can be deception. Self-judgment. Christ's judgment is very important because he will reveal the motives of human heart. He will reveal the motives of him. That's very significant. So, and he will do that in his time, right? So verse 5 is actually says, therefore, right? Look at here, verse 5. Therefore, do not go on passing judgment. So why he said, therefore, do not go on passing? They were passing judgment. So these verses were why you should not pass judgment. Why you should not pass judgment. That is what he explains here in these 4 verses. Why you should not pass judgment. You wait until the Lord comes with light, hidden darkness, because of he reveals the motives of men's heart. And then each man's will praise comes from him. So yes, so the way that I looked at that passage is like this. All right. So what is my proposed theme here? My proposed theme statement, not theme statement. Theme statement. We are not supposed to judge the motives of others who serve the Lord. Right? Who? Yeah, absolutely. Who serve the Lord. Because they belong to Jesus Christ, and he alone knows the motives of their heart. That's what my main idea that I wanted to explain with these points. So are you able to connect? Are you able to understand? Tell me. Are you able to understand my reasonings with the text?
Yes, we are able to understand.
Okay. All
And
right.
sir, I just wrote my proposed statement like this.
Yes.
We must accept one another with Christ's love and serve together without judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is, is that statement wrong? No, that statement is wrong, not wrong. But does that statement capture the complete essence of the text? That is the question, right? Does it capture the complete essence of the text? That would be, so I think he's talking mainly about
my propose for the we are the accountable of God.
Yes. Oh, no, you are muted, Pastor Jose. I didn't hear. Go ahead.
We are accountable of God, therefore God will judge us.
Yes. Okay, we are accountable to God, therefore, yeah. Yes, we are accountable to God. That is taken from verse 2. Yes. Okay, tell me one more time. Tell me one more time.
We are accountable to God. Therefore, God judges.
Okay, therefore, okay, therefore God will judge, right? But yes, yes, the two verses, it comes two verses, but it doesn't answer verse 5, where we say, verse 5, therefore do not go on passing judgment. Yes, it answers verse 2, 3, and 4, right? But that statement doesn't include why we should not, right, do not go on passing judgment, why we should not judge other servants. So that would be a something. No problem, it's this is it's not that easy, right? It takes experiences as you do. So no problem, you have done fantastic job, far better than what I expected, and I wanted to appreciate you for that one, right? But it is going to take time and experiences. So no problem. What is our aim? Our aim is to preach the essence of the biblical text, right? We want to have preaching biblical, completely biblical. That is what we want to do. We want to be the spokesperson of God, where we stand in between people and God, and we are delivering, communicating the word to people, right? So that's what our aim, and that is what here we are trying to do. All right. So I hope and pray that you are doing good. I'm going to give you another text for next week. Okay.
Sir, before you give, can you send us the
Oh,
answer that you have prepared so that we will just have go through?
yeah. I will send what I've done. Is that
And
okay?
that would be a great help for us. Thank you, sir.
Sure. I will do that. I will do that, what I have written here.
So mine also
Go ahead, Manoj. Yeah.
propose statement, theme
Yes.
statement.
Uh-huh.
I will just read what I have written.
No problem. Go ahead.
A little bit long, but yeah. I have written here proposed theme statement. Apostles are and ministers are the servant of God who brings the mysteries of God to the people. They should be identified by the people as the servant of God, but they should be trustworthy and faithful in their ministries. It is not to be judged by the people, but God is the one who will judge, and He is the one who knows our heart and will bring everything into light, where every deeds will be revealed and will be glorified accordingly.
Yeah. No problem. So what is that? It is just like this, where I made, for example, here, I just wrote down the thrust of every verse, right? Thrust of every verse. And that will be like here, gospel ministers are servants of Christ and the gospel. Their ministry must be extension of their faithfulness. Maybe my statements are very small, concise. Only God has the right to appraise the integrity of the person's faithfulness, and He will do that when He comes back. Believers are not to judge others for that. Those are the main thoughts in each verses. I like what you read, but that may not be as proposed theme statements. It's usually a theme statement will be one sentence, right? It can be a little longer, but one sentence, which can capture the idea. So that's how we will do. All right, no problem. Very good. Very good. So at least we are able to look at those texts with a little more deeper eye, like I'm saying, a little more carefully, consciously. We are looking at text so that we get the message from there. All right.
Okay. I was not there during the theme statement.
Yesterday, yeah.
But I'm trying to get how it's formulated.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So what? Because this is it. This is very important. These exercises are very important. Why? It's so important because here we learn to to understand a passage in order to prepare a sermon, right? Prepare a sermon. So what we will do, we are going to look at one more passage. That is going to be First Peter chapter 5, verse 1 to 5. Right? First Peter chapter 5, verse 1 to 5. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Okay, very good. First Peter chapter 5, verse 1 to 5 is the passage that we are going to look at next week. And make sure that look at identifying the theme, this theme project, right? Theme project is what we're going to do. All right?